This is the Reviewing Network Live, a weekly stream of consciousness recording session where I sit back with you folks out there, talk about some of the big news stories from the past week, and some other things I found that might be of amusement to you out there. I think you might get a kick out of it. Now, these are more like audio podcasts and are much longer than my usual videos and are also, for the most part, unedited and will contain some foul language. So, if you're easily offended by that, I advise you to maybe step back a bit, maybe go somewhere else. But hey, if you're up to the challenge, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks. And for the 49th time ever, we are live. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Reviewing Network Live, the weekly show where we recap the week in entertainment news in general and do a lot of other things too. I've already said it in the intro, but yeah, I'm gonna say right now, this is not one of those interesting weeks in particular. There's not really a whole lot that happened that's gonna make for a stacked episode of news stories like we've had the last couple of weeks. I mean, we don't have we didn't have a Comic-Con this week like we did last week. We didn't have any big news stories from the last couple of weeks, but and the funny thing is that next week I go to Steel City Con, which is usually the weekend when I usually like to do a much shorter episode, but guess what's happening next weekend too? Disney D23, which means there's going to be a lot of Disney news coming out from Anaheim, California, and I don't know, like that's going to be, I'm going to be already tired from getting everything out of the Steel City Con and back home, so that's usually, I don't know what's going to happen next week, but I'll save that for next week. That'll be future Aaron's problem. Yeah, this week, not a whole lot of interesting news stories. A couple of stories I found that are some of interest, but nothing like staggering or anything that's like something that I have to talk about. Just some stories of some of the bigger news stories of the week, and some intriguing stories that I thought you guys might get a kick out of. So, I'm already wasting your time as it is, so let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's start off, of course, as we always do, with the top 5. The weekend box office this week, which again was not really that impressive if you don't already know what the number 1 movie is, but there was a couple of interesting elements here that we could delve into here once we get out of the top 5, because one movie in particular had a lot of high expectations from one studio, and not so much, but let's get to it. Like I said, most of the movies in here are movies we've already talked about. Like number 5, for instance, is Inside Out 2, still hanging in there. $6.7 million, 22% drop off from last week, bringing its 8-week gross up to $626.9 million. Worldwide, it's at $1.5 billion. It is about, I think, half a billion away from beating the Lion King remake as the highest grossing animated movie of all time. I think that's what it is. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. If it's not that, it's definitely close to it. Let me see if I can find it. Because I know on Twitter, the people that I follow are watching that closely to see whether or not this thing's actually going to beat it. But it's about, I want to say about it's at $1.663 billion. Where is Inside Out 2 at? 1.555 billion. So yeah, about $108 million. Yeah, about $108 million away from surpassing Inside Out 2, which I think it probably will get to. And yeah, because it's still hanging in there. It's still opening. It's still doing very well worldwide. I think it still has some places it needs to open up across the globe too, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong on that. But anyway, moving on to number 4, the number 3 film from last week, which was Despicable Me 4, which brought in $11.3 million this weekend, dropping 23% from last week. 5 weeks it's brought in $313.9 million, and the worldwide gross for that is up to $752.2 million. I think that puts it in the third position now of the Despicable Me series in general. Not if you include the Minions movies. I believe that's where we're at right now. Let's see if I can find the box office numbers here. We're at 313 million. So, actually, no, it's now the second highest grossing movie in the Despicable Me series, if you don't include the Minions movies. If you include the Minions movies, it's the 4th highest grossing in the series, but in the terms of the Despicable Me series in general, it's the second highest grossing behind the second film. So, okay, moving on to now, let's get into some new releases this week, and we only have one new release in the top 5 this weekend, and that is the number 3 film, which is M. Night Shyamalan's Trapped, with Josh Hartnett as he plays a father who takes her daughter to a concert for this Taylor Swift-like performer, and he finds out that this is actually a trap to catch a serial killer, which Josh Hartnett turns out to be. I mean, I don't think I really need to tell you the spoiler for the twist for that, because it's already been spoiled in the trailers for it, pretty much. But Trap, $15.6 million. The budget on this was only $30 million, so it wasn't too bad. So it's not too bad of an opening for that particular film, but it brought in $20 million. It's brought in $20 million in total when you include worldwide grosses. The reviews for this are very mixed. It's definitely the definition of a polarizing movie, because a lot of people really like it, but then there's people that think it's not that great because of the numerous twists in this movie. Everything I've heard about the movie is that Josh Hartnett's performance is the most praiseworthy thing about it, but when they throw in all the twists in here, that's where people really start to take a back seat. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's at 48%. Cinema Score is at C+, which is usually not a good sign for this movie going forward, but, I mean, it only cost $30 million to make, and it's already made back $20 million of it, so it's essentially at about, if I'm doing my math correctly, about 70% of the budget already, if I'm correct on that. I got a calculator right here. I know this is just me filling time here, but like I said, it's not a busy week, so this really isn't going to be that significant for me to not cover this. So yeah, I was close. 67% in general. So about 67% of the movie's budget has already been brought back this particular weekend. So even if it drops off over the next couple of weeks, it's going to make its money back regardless. But I don't know, it's one I've been wanting to. I was kind of curious about checking it out per se. So but with all of that said, let's go back to the older releases. Moving on to the number 2 movie this week, Twisters, still hanging in there. How many more things of Crow am I going to have to eat to prove that for this movie to keep proving how successful it really was going to become? Because after 3 weeks, it's hanging in there at number 2 with $22.7 million, only dropping 35% from last week. Only cost $200 million to make. It's already at $195.5 million domestically, well past the last movie. To take worldwide grosses, it's up to $274 million worldwide. It's a bona fide hit, so what the hell do I know, I guess. But still not going to go see it at some point. But let's get to the number 1 movie this week, which really should not be that much of a surprise. It's that number 1 movie from last week, Deadpool and Wolverine, which, if there's anything that's surprising, I'm surprising it's not over $100 million, because the buzz on this movie was still going into the week. It was doing pretty good numbers on from Monday through Thursday, between like $18 and $25 million between those days, but it brought in $97 million this weekend, dropping 54% from last weekend. The total gross so far in the States here is $395.5 million. Worldwide, it's up to $824 million worldwide. Continuing to break records this weekend, it is now officially the highest grossing R-rated movie, surpassing Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ, which was at $360, I believe, and this is already well past that. And after only 2 weeks, I mean, this thing is still carrying a ton of business. I think it's going to keep making money for at least the next weekend, at least the next couple of weeks. I think it'll still be the number 1 movie next week, and then might get pushed out for Alien Romulus, but it depends on how good the word of mouth on that film's going to be. So I'm speculating that Blake Lively's It Ends With Us could be the sleeper hit that could drop that Deadpool and Wolverine down a notch, which is funny because it's Ryan Reynolds versus Blake Lively pretty much. But I don't know. I'm still not convinced that movie's going to have that big of an audience to it. But then again, I was wrong about Twisters, so who knows? I could be wrong about this one too. But yeah, I don't want to be surprised if the gross for this weekend's Deadpool and Wolverine doesn't go up a little bit, because it went up a little bit from last week, because it was $205 million. It was originally $195, then it went up to $205, and then on the Monday estimates came out, it was $211 million for the opening weekend of that movie. So it wouldn't surprise me if it could somehow slightly got back up to $100 million. I don't think I don't think we're getting the full report here this week on the opening weekend on the second weekend for Deadpool and Wolverine. But besides It Ends With Us, there's only one other big new release that comes out, and that's Eli Roth's Borderlands, which at first I was kind of looking forward to it, but then they said rated PG-13, and it's just like, okay, instant death on arrival on that one. But we'll see what happens next week. But speaking of movies that were dead on arrival, let's take a look at the other big new release this weekend. That was Harold and the Purple Crayon, which, shock of all shocks, obviously bad-looking movie it was an obviously bad-looking movie and did pretty bad business at the box office. The film got thrashed by critics, got an A- cinema score. So the parents that took their kids to see this, I hope you enjoy the stupidity that you. I hope your kids enjoy the stupidity you forced them to sit through. But film cost $40 million to make and only brought in $6 million. $6 million at the box office, and worldwide didn't even crack $10 million. $9 million after, if you include worldwide grosses. So yeah, this is a straight up bomb. In fact, I can hear it right now. Like that's this whole movie in general, because God, did I hate this movie so much. This is probably my new worst movie of the year. It's a movie that I knew was going to be bad from the get-go, but then you see the film and you really think, wow, they really are as stupid as they really do think this movie is made for stupid, will work for stupid people. And it's a terrible movie, man. It's right up there with the worst movies of the year. I think it surpassed Argyle for me as the worst movie of the year so far. I mean, and Argyle was a terrible movie to begin with, but no, this is rough. This is rough. Argyle was at least trying to do something different. This was just, I go deep into it on my review for it. So if you want to go check that out, check it out on the main channel. It should be the first video that shows up on there. With that said, though, that's the weekend box office, and some other movies, smaller movies like The Firing Squad, Kneecap, Cat Video Fest 2024, did varying businesses. I have known nothing about these movies in particular, so I can't really delve too deep into them. But I know The Trap and Harold and the Purple Crayon were the two biggest hits of the weekend, and neither one of them really did great business. Trap's going to at least make its budget back. Harold and the Purple Crayon, not so much. So that's the weekend box office. So let's go ahead and move into some of the few stories that we have this week of noteworthiness. So if you've been liking Jimmy Kimmel as the host of the Academy Awards the last couple of years, I've got some bad news for you. Or if you thought John Mulaney was so good on his bit with the Academy Awards this past year, and you wanted to see more of that this year as a host, prepare to be disappointed, because earlier in the week, the story came out that Jimmy Kimmel and John Mulaney will have both passed on hosting the Academy Awards ceremony for this year. And this is a story that comes from The Hollywood Reporter. And this is a pretty big story in general, even though the Oscars are still well almost a year away. Like, they don't take place until March 2nd. So, but this is the story here from The Hollywood Reporter. ABC is said to have made offers to Jimmy Kimmel and John Mulaney, both of whom passed the opportunity, as first reported by Puck News. Fortunately for the Academy and its host network, there's still plenty of time, with the Oscars not slated to air until Sunday, March 2nd. The first outreach had gone to Kimmel, its late-night host, who's already emceed the Academy Awards 4 times, including the past 2 years. Ironically, his statement upon accepting the offer in 2023 reads, "I've always dreamed of hosting the Oscars exactly 4 times." Nevertheless, he was the obvious choice, in large part because his last foray was widely praised and because he's already a part of the Disney family. But Kimmel ultimately said no, and he reportedly did hosting this year's Emmy Awards, which will also be carried on ABC. That's coming up in September. The decision may come as a surprise to those who know Kimmel to ultimately say yes to most major gigs in the names of being a good partner. After all, he's hosted the Emmys for ABC 3 times, he makes an annual appearance as Roastmaster at the Disney Upfronts, and he keeps re-upping his late-night contract despite hemming and hawking about being done. But he's also been vocal in recent years about his desire to have more balance in his life, which plays into his decision to take summers off at Jimmy Kimmel Live. Mulaney, arguably a sexier, if riskier bet, came next. His name has been banded as a potential host ever since he won over the Oscar crowd at the Governor's Award earlier this year. In fact, many saw the non-televised gig as an audition of sorts, during which Mulaney clearly passed. The year prior, Mulaney had been asked to host by the Hollywood Reporter if he'd ever consider hosting the Oscars. He said, sure, why not? It'd be really fun. It's hosting the Academy Awards. Johnny Carson did that. And while the comic addressed the possibility more recently, telling the Hollywood Reporter in June that he wouldn't necessarily say no in the end, he decided to pass this year. Don't bother asking about the year after, since he insists he doesn't plan more 3 months in advance. Though hosting the Oscars is a prestigious opportunity and still a major platform, it's also a massive, months-long, and often thankless undertaking. Plus, Mulaney would have had to give other opportunities, including another likely stand-up tour, given up other opportunities, so it's back to the drawing board for ABC and the Academy, which hasn't had to run an extensive search for an Oscar host in years. ABC declined to comment for the story, and the Academy did not immediately respond. Now, there was another story that came out later in the week called Oscars Inside the Search for a Host on the Hollywood Reporter as well, and let me see if I can find that one here. I'll just read it from where the new stuff comes in. The Academy and ABC, being risk-adverse, will often reapproach people who have hosted before, but most in recent years are never going to be invited back. Forget about James Franco and Anne Hathaway and Neil Patrick Harris. Many found the 2013 host Seth MacFarlane too undignified, and the show held by Regina Hall, Amy Schumer, and Wanda Sykes was generally regarded as unspectacular. Ellen DeGeneres was well received when she hosted in 2007 and 2014, but her public image has since taken a beating. Even she refers to her as being a has-been, kicked out of show business. Alec Baldwin became politically polarizing by mocking Donald Trump on Saturday Night Live, then was caught in the Rush tragedy. And Billy Crystal, who has hosted 9 times between 1990 and 2012, and Whoopi Goldberg, who has hosted in 1990 and 2002, are now 76 and 68 respectively, and would not help the Academy and ABC in their efforts to attract younger viewers to the telecast. 4 past hosts may remain viable. At 78, comedy legend Steve Martin, who hosted in 2001, 2003, and with Bowling in 2010, is now too old to be targeted by the Academy as a solo host, but if the Academy and ABC could convince his longtime comedy partner Martin Short and their 32-year-old only Murders in the Building co-star Selena Gomez to host together, that would be a huge coup. Obviously, ABC and only member streamers Hulu share a parent company in Disney, and Gomez is the star of one of this year's top Oscar contenders, Emilia Perez. Jon Stewart would certainly be a get, and he would probably have more time on his hands now than he has with any other point in many years, given that now he only hosts The Daily Show one night a week. That said, he is politically outspoken, which may give the Academy and ABC pause as they make every effort to keep politics out of the Oscar ceremony, having seen undeniable evidence of tracking data that impacts viewership. Chris Rock is as popular as ever, and it would be a big get to get him to return to the Oscars for the first time since he was shockingly slapped by Will Smith while presenting an award in 2022. That said, with him previously hosting the show, he offended a lot of people with a skit featuring Asian children, for which the Academy, but not Rock, ultimately felt compelled to apologize. I suspect that many, including Janet Yang, the Academy's first president of Asian descent, might want to go in another direction. Then there's Hugh Jackman, who hosted the tremendously acclaimed 2009 ceremony. He sang, he danced, and he even got Beyoncé to perform with him. And who happens to be one of the 2 stars of the biggest blockbusters of the year, Deadpool and Wolverine. Heck, I could even see Wolverine enlisting Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, to share the gig with him. This is an essay, by the way. I'm not, like, I'm reading it, like, these are my thoughts on it, but this is from Scott Feinberg, who's, like, the main Oscar awards guy on the Hollywood Reporter, so I just want to get that out of the way, but, other options along these lines include Dwayne Johnson, Glenn Powell, John Legend, Chrissy Teigen, Emily Blunt, and Ryan Gosling, Tom Hanks. If the Academy and ABC do end up sticking with a comedian, they could go with former late-night host and current podcaster Conan O'Brien, which myself, talking to you right now, would think is a really good choice. Maya Rudolph and Kristen Wiig, separate or together. Chelsea Handler, who had honed her hosting skills while emceeing the lower-stakes Critics' Choice Awards. Ali Wong, Bill Hader, Tiffany Haddish. I would not expect ABC to sign off on anyone who competes in the late-night arena with Kimmel. Jimmy Fallon, Seth Meyers, Stephen Colbert, John Oliver, Bill Maher. Even though David Letterman hosted in the 90s, and they didn't have a problem with that, but they say people like Trevor Noah, Ricky Gervais, Dave Chappelle, Justin Timberlake, Melissa McCarthy, Jerry Seinfeld, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, John Krasinski, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Kevin Hart, Tom Brady. Is like, yeah, you want to have another debacle with the Netflix thing, but they have a lot of names in here, but there's one in particular that I really feel like that, you got the Muppets there at Disney, and people really like the Muppets, and every time you try to do something new with the Muppets, you always end up canceling it. as on Disney Plus. So why not just do a Muppets TV? Why not just have the Muppets host the Oscars? I mean, the Muppets are fan favorites. Hollywood seems to really like them. They're under Disney. You don't really do a whole lot with them in particular. Excuse me, but yeah, the Muppets I think probably would be really cool to see if we ever got a chance to see them actually be. Is if they really run out of ideas, just go with the Muppets. I mean, the Muppets could be a ton of fun. I can see Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds doing it. Ryan Reynolds has proven he's got enough charisma to actually handle a show like this. I mean, hell, Conan O'Brien. I would love to see him go and get that guy, because Conan O'Brien still is really funny even after all these years. But again, it's still very early on for them to actually find a host, and I'm sure we'll get a host sooner rather than later. I mean, they're not gonna. I really don't think they're gonna wait until next year, all the way next year, to actually to find a host. If they are, then clearly there's some problems with the way the Academy is planning to do their award shows going forward. But sorry about that. But so yeah, that's one of the bigger stories this week in a very slow news week. But there was at least some news in Hollywood that's worth talking about. So there was one big new Hollywood project announced this week that's based off of a book that just came out recently. Britney Spears is getting a biopic made about her based off of her book that came out not too long ago, The Woman in Me. It's being set up at Universal with the help of Wicked director John Chu, and I've got that story here from Variety. And it says here that Universal Pictures has landed the rights to Britney Spears' best-selling memoir, The Woman in Me, with Wicked director John M. Chu and producer Mark Platt attached to develop the feature. Spears shared news of the secret project on social media, writing that Platt has always made my favorite movies and telling her fans to stay tuned for more news, as it follows with a tweet of her talking about this new project. Universal won the rights to the Grammy winner's memoir, which released last October and sold over 2.5 million copies in the United States alone in a highly competitive auction. In the book, Spears chronicled her journey to pop superstardom from her Mickey Mouse Club days to her highly publicized and scrutinized conservatorship case, with remarkable candor and humor. The book was brutally honest and went in-depth regarding her relationships with ex-boyfriend Justin Timberlake and her family, chronicling the predatory nature of those around her in an attempt to control her life. The audiobook, read by Academy Award-nominated actress Michelle Williams, was also featured with an introduction by Spears, and is the fastest-selling in Simon & Schuster's history. At the time, Spears was quoted as saying, "I poured my heart and soul into my memoir, and I'm grateful to my fans and readers around the world for their unwavering support." Universal has had a record of success with its musical biopics, including 2015's Straight Outta Compton, which focused on NWA and grossed more than $200 million, and 8 Mile, which is about Eminem, which grossed $250 million globally. The studio is currently in development of the definitive biopic of Snoop Dogg, as well as a film inspired by Prince's music, produced by Ryan Coogler's Proximity Media. The studio also recently wrapped production on projects from Pharrell Williams and Michelle Gondry, including inspired by the Grammy winner's Childhood Neighborhood, I don't know if that's not the Piece by Piece movie, is it? So apparently Pharrell's getting two different movies, because there's one Piece by Piece, which is the Lego movie, but then there's another one that's produced by Williams that's basically drawing inspiration from his childhood, which is being done by Michelle Gondry. And apparently that movie is already in production right now. So I guess he's getting two movies coming out pretty soon. So you learn so much when you have to look for the stuff on your own. But moving on here through the story here. Meanwhile, the first chapter of Chu and Pratt's adaptation of Wicked, starring Emmy, Grammy, and Tony winner Cynthia Erivo and Grammy winner Ariana Grande, will release in theaters on November 22nd, with Wicked Part 2 set to open next November 26, 2025. Spears has been relatively out of the spotlight since she was released from her conservatorship in November 2021. Aside from regularly posting videos of her dancing on Instagram, she stated earlier in this year that she will never return to the music industry, that she's instead been ghostwriting songs for other artists. She most recently made headlines after Halsey released her new single, Lucky, which arrived hand-in-hand with a music video last week. In the lead-up to the song's release, Halsey claimed that Spears gave her permission to interpolate her 2000 single of the same name for the song. But following the video release, Spears posted and then swiftly deleted the message on X, claiming that she felt harassed, violated, and bullied by her portrayal as a superficial pop star. Shortly after, she claimed the post was fake news and that she has left for Halsey, which, okay. Is there anything else in here? Okay, nothing else more to say about this, but, yeah, so there's going to be a Britney Spears biopic based off of this book, and, you know, kind of like what I've said before with all the other biopics out there, I'm hoping that Universal doesn't butcher this to make it safe and marketable. I hope they follow the book in general. I hope they actually go with with what Britney Spears was going with here. I hope she has more of a say in how the production goes for it, because, I mean, I really want to see the true story. Them going for the cold hard facts about her life. I mean, yeah, it's been my biggest problem with biopics. I feel like I talk about this every single month whenever they announce a new biopic, but I'm always scared that we're going to get the same type of movie we see with Bohemian Rhapsody and Bob Marley, One Love, Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody, the Amy Winehouse, Back in Black. Just be brutally honest. Just be honest like the book is. The book is a brutally honest book, and I just feel like Universal's going to try to do everything in their power to make sure that it's safe and sanitized and it's specifically marketable just for the movie itself, and really clears out all the dark elements of a story and just goes for the traditional routine by-the-numbers biopic route. I hope that's not the case with this movie. I hope that Universal gives them the free range to do whatever they want with this, but yeah, it's kind of hard for me not to be a little scared for this, but I am really cautiously optimistic about this. I mean, I'm really cautiously optimistic to see what they could do with this, but yeah, like I said, that was only the major news story in terms of new projects being announced, but there was one other thing this week I wanted to cover. So this was a really, really funny story that I saw to start the month off. But it started off with a video that I saw on Twitter, and I think the video speaks for itself, but let me go ahead and play the video for you right here, because and I'll read the story here because I just found the story for this particular video today. So let's go ahead and take a listen to the video here. This is coming straight from my channel.
There's 30 minutes of trailer. I wanted to see the Joker. I want to see Lady Gaga in the Joker trailer. I will call the police on you. This is not. You don't get a fucking refund. I swear to God. There's 30 minutes of trailer. I wanted to see the Joker. I want to see Lady Gaga in the Joker trailer. I will call the police on you. This is not.
So if you didn't hear that, the guy got pissed off at this New York City movie theater because his theater didn't have the trailer for Joker 2, and he was talking Joker Folie à Deux, if you will. But he's threatening the theater. He's saying that he wanted to see Lady Gaga and the Joker, and he literally says, "I'm going to call the police because I didn't get my trailer." Well, let me tell you something, pal. I saw Deadpool and Wolverine this weekend. I didn't get a Joker last weekend. I didn't get a Joker 2 trailer. I'm not upset about that per se, even though I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that film. But yeah, we didn't get a Joker 2 trailer, but I'm not going out to the theater and losing my goddamn mind because of this. When the Dark Knight Rises trailer didn't appear in front of Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 2, I didn't go out to the movie theater and threaten to call the police on them because of that. I mean, this is... I thought... It's weird because of videos like this, you have to look at this and think, is this guy being serious, or is this part of a hoax? Is this part of a fake thing? Because I've been pretty good at being able to figure out what videos are fake and what videos are real, who's really bad, who's really not, is really doing this for a gimmick or something. But this is definitely something that I feel like is probably real. And I just found the article for this today on the Daily Mail. So let me go ahead and read this to you. This is from the Daily Mail. And it says, anticipation over Lady Gaga's appearance in the upcoming Joker movie proved too much for one fan who had an epic meltdown when a New York theater failed to show the latest trailer for it. The man failed to see the funny side of the IFC Center on 6th Avenue, tearing the box office staff, and apparently sitting through a reel which did not include the newly released promo. "If you don't give me a effing refund, I swear to God," he stormed while clutching a soda and a bag of popcorn. "There's 30 minutes of trailers. I wanted the Joker. I wanted to see Lady Gaga in the Joker trailer. Give me a fucking or I will call the police on you." And I tried to not say the F word, and that's what I end up saying. But no, he literally says, "I will call the police on you." And it goes, excitement has been building over Joker Folie à Deux since the first trailer achieved 167 million viewers in its first 24 hours after its release in April, a record for a Warner Brothers film. The latest trailer, released last week, shows anti-hero Arthur Fleck clutching Harley Quinn, played by Gaga, tightly and has already amassed 23 million views on YouTube. But the prospect of watching it on the platform seemingly did not appeal to the film fan during the protest outside the theater in New York's West Village, in a video that has attracted its own legion of fans. In fairness, I was livid when mine didn't play the new trailer and played the teaser instead. Bro got his priorities straight. Let me guess, they showed the Nicole Kidman trailer again, huh? Quipped the third. Some fans are furious when it was revealed that the sequel to 2019's Joker was a musical, but others were delighted at the prospect of seeing the poker-faced singer join Joaquin Phoenix in some musical numbers. And I think that's, is there anything here in particular? And they just kind of go, this continues on here, and they show, like, Twitter reactions from people, and one person literally said, I guess he never heard of YouTube, and then it's just like, on YouTube, someone goes, he's going to lose it when someone shows it on YouTube. And then someone says, give this man a sitcom. Go off, King. I want to see it now. Tag someone for it. Some film fans suspected a spoof after the Gaga fans' New York meltdown suggested that the independent cinema was unlikely to show the Joker trailer in any circumstances. They show classic Indian foreign language movies, not 20 to 30-minute blocks of trailers. So according to this theater in particular, well, hold on, I want to read this last thing here, because this is pretty funny. The correct answer from the theater owner is, you're now banned from this establishment. If you step foot on our property again, we'll call the police and have you arrested for trespassing, suggested another, which is what they should have done in the first goddamn place. But I guess the IFC theater, doesn't really play a whole lot of mainstream movies. Let me go ahead and see here. Let's see. Actually, the IFC Theater, the ultimate entertainment space for New Yorkers, seeking out the best in independent film. Okay, so yeah, they weren't going to show this trailer for Joker. I mean, I don't even think they have blockbusters there. Let me see what they got here on the now playing thing. You got stuff like Sebastian, Swan Song, The Time Masters, Amadeus. They also have a Citizen Kane, Dune, The Iron Giant, Ishtar, Joe versus the Volcano. You got some movies here. You got some mainstream films here, but yeah, I don't think they're playing any blockbuster movies here. I don't see anything for Deadpool, Wolverine, or Twisters, or any of the big new releases. They are playing Kids in Hall Brain Candy tomorrow night at 10:10 if you're interested in going there. But they have stuff like UHF is playing at 9:35 on Wednesday, Clue at 7:15, the 1985 movie. Ishtar, which, why would they be showing Ishtar? But Idiocracy is playing next week, Speed Racer. Okay, so there is some mainstream movies, but nothing of recently. Like Heaven's Gate is playing next week, Josie and the Pussycats. So it's really, I don't really think it's independent movies. It's just mostly movies that have become like cult films, or nothing like big blockbusters as of late. In fact, if you look at the video, there's a poster for something called Happy Campers there. And so, yeah, this guy clearly had no idea what kind of theater he was going to. Plus, New York City has a bunch of other movie theaters that plays the big blockbusters. If you really want to see this trailer so goddamn badly, you can go to one of those theaters there. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. But not to this guy.
Fucking refund. There we go. There's 30 minutes of trailer. I wanted to see the Joker. I want to see Lady Gaga in the Joker trailer. I will call the police on you. This is not. You don't get a fucking refund. There we go. There's 30 minutes of trailer. I wanted to see the Joker. I want to see Lady Gaga in the Joker trailer. I will call the police on you.
For what? What are the police gonna do for you, man? Like it's like those Karen videos where somebody doesn't get what they want, like they don't get the food that they want, or they don't get the refund they want, even though the people are clearly telling you you have to wait a specific number of days if you use a specific type of service to get your money back, and then it's just like, let's call the police. It's just like, for what? Like, what do you expect you're gonna get from this? Like what do they really? What does he really expect to get from this? They're gonna go magically find a Joker trailer and show it on the big screen for him. It's just like, this is not the Phantom Menace. This is not 1998 when people went to the movie theaters to literally see the Phantom Menace see the Phantom Menace trailer and then leave the movie they were gonna go see afterwards. I mean, this is not something to get that upset about here. But this is like, I don't think this is fake, but I think this guy didn't realize what kind of a theater he was going to, because like I said before, there's no recent blockbusters on this list or movies that are currently playing in theaters on wider scales. So yeah, guy clearly had no idea what kind of a movie theater he was going to here. But I thought that was kind of funny, this particular video, and the fact that he was literally threatening the police because he didn't get to see one 3-minute trailer, which, you know, while you're calling the police on your phone, go to YouTube and type in Joker Folia Do trailer. See what comes up. There you go. You got the trailer right there. So let's tackle something heavier like world hunger, buddy. So, okay. Let's move on to the last thing I want to cover here. Nothing that's related to any news stories this week, but just for a time filler, why not? So, because it is a relatively slow news week in particular, and with Disney D23 coming up next week, no real reason to bring this up in particular, but if anybody from Fox or Disney is listening out there, or anyone on the Bob's Burger staff is listening out there, and you probably didn't see my post on this back in the day, I'd like to just give you kind of an idea of an idea that I have here that I've been trying to. I've essentially pitched this idea before on the website before, but some of you out there probably don't know what probably have never been to the website before. But if you haven't, I'll give you kind of a rundown of my idea here. Now, we all know Disney now owns Fox, and there's a lot of IP and franchises that they own and have already begun to expand out, branch out in various ways. With this year we've got Planet of the Apes, Deadpool, Aliens coming up. They expanded out Predator a couple years ago. The Omen was one of the big ones this year. Of course, somewhere there's Disney Imagineers out there that are thinking about the new properties that could work and absorb into the Disney theme parks, including, well, The Simpsons. There are still, however, some hurdles on that front, since Universal still owns the theme park rights for another couple of years, so it's very unlikely we'll see them brought into the Disney theme parks anytime soon, but there are other animated properties from the Fox library that can be absorbed into the parks, and I've had one idea for a while now, and that's right for the taking, and that is with Bob's Burgers. Of course, the series has now been on the air for years now. We've had the movie out recently, and the show is still very popular even to this day, and now I think would be the perfect time to bring Bob's Burgers into the Disney theme parks, and what better way to do that than by bringing the Bob's Burgers restaurant to life in one of the theme parks? I mean, there are so many ideas of how you can bring Bob's Burgers into the theme parks that the Disney Park Imagineers probably could easily do. And, you can have a sit-down restaurant, you can have a house tour like the houses that Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, and Donald that used to be at both Disney World and Disneyland, so two for the price of one there. You probably have a meet and greet with the characters inside of there. There's definitely a lot there you could easily work with, the ideas you can have. You can still have, themed foods in particular. You can have the burger of the day where the seats are at, like that type of stuff, and you really could find a lot of easy places to put that in any of the theme parks, specifically the one in I would say put one at Disney's Hollywood Studios right in the heart of Grand Avenue. The buildings have been nothing there as of right now, but in the middle, the blue building, that could be easily the perfect place to put the themed restaurant in there. You can retheme the building, and I could easily see a Bob's Burgers restaurant right in the middle of Grand Avenue, like right in front of Muppet Vision, right in front of the entrance to Galaxy's Edge. Or if you want to make it closer to the theming of the show, put it right across the street from Mama Melrose, and then retheme that into Jimmy Pesto's. I mean, that's perfect timing. That'd be the perfect kind of timing right there in particular. I mean, you could do it there, you could do it at Hollywood Studios, or you could try to squeeze it in at Disney Springs. But Hollywood Studios, I think, probably would be the best bet in particular to put a Bob's Burgers restaurant in. And I'm sure you could probably find some places out in California Adventure, probably right in the middle of Hollywood Land, or at least for Grand Avenue, New York, it could fit better in there. I haven't been to the other Disney parks, so I don't know where in particular in Disneyland you could probably put it in. Probably in California Adventure, like I said, but just to kind of give you an idea of what a Bob's Burgers themed restaurant could look like in a Disney theme park. And I feel like you could probably go ahead and do something like that nowadays, especially with Bob's Burgers continuing to be as popular as it is today. Like The Simpsons is still under contract with Universal Studios for the next couple of years. Family Guy, I think, is a tough sell to put into the Disney theme parks right now, but a Bob's Burgers restaurant is a nice middle ground. Like, it's right in the middle where you can put it somewhere, and it could easily start by putting the Fox franchises into the Disney theme parks. And like I said, I've delved into this in much greater detail over on the website, so I'll leave a link to it in the description down below. But that's kind of my pitch to helping Disney consider the idea of maybe bringing Bob's Burgers into the Disney theme parks. And hopefully I gave the Imagineers some ideas to work with. Or they never see this, and this will just continue to be an idea that will float around for several years to come. But, hey, if anybody out there from Disney, Fox, or the people that work on Bob's Burgers are listening out there, and I've got a good idea for you to work with here, and hopefully, who knows, maybe this might actually get announced next week at D23. I doubt it, but stranger things have happened indeed. But I figured, why not? This would be the perfect place to go ahead and put this out there, because it's been a very slow news week in particular. So, that's my pitch to bringing Bob's Burgers into the Disney parks. So how about we go ahead and get to some recommendations to get the heck on out of here. And just like everything else this week, prepare for a little bit of an underwhelming turnout, because, quite frankly, there's nothing of noteworthiness coming out on physical media this week, except for Collateral on 4K. I guess everything else is like stuff that's already been out for a number of years, including the Bill and Ted movies coming out by Shout Factory. Dragonheart Steelbook is getting a wider release after being a Walmart exclusive. There isn't even anything that interesting going on in Netflix or Disney Plus right now. I mean, there's nothing really too significant going on right now in terms of what's interesting, what could be coming out that I can recommend here. But right now, it's just kind of like I'm kind of grasping at straws here, trying to figure out something to recommend for you guys. But yeah, I got nothing for you. So yeah, this sucks. But hey, at least it ends the show on a note, I guess. Yeah, like I said, there really is not a whole lot coming out in terms of new releases, or like on physical media or streaming in particular. Nothing that I really could recommend to you guys. But next week, of course, D23 comes out, and I haven't decided. Am I going to do a regular show, or it'll just depend on how I feel and the topics at hand for the week ahead. If we get any major stories to talk about, or I'll just probably save those for the week afterwards, because usually the Sunday after Steel City Con is usually the day when I take a break and just usually try to put the focus on just the weekend box office and the recommendations for next week, which there will be some recommendations at least for next week. But for right now, tough to say what next week's show will be like. But there will be a show next week, whether it's just a regular episode or just a shortened down version of what I usually do on Steel City Sundays. But yeah, that's going to wrap this episode up of the Reviewing Network Live. Thank you guys so much for listening in and watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, want to hear more videos like this, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. Check out some of the other episodes we've done, including last week's show. And that's about it. So with that said, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. I'll see you guys next time. And until then, as always, we are out.